Well, welcome, Dorie.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about this book you've got, which is um, amazing, by the way. And I will say to everyone looking at this, so this is the book, Entrepreneurial You. Monetize your expertise, creating multiple income streams and thrive, which is like exactly the message I have preached to every single person on the face of the earth whoever says that entrepreneurship is risky, because it's all about the multiple income streams. Because you have a job, you have exactly one income stream. And I just have one word, and that's Enron. Anybody who thought that was a safe job and a steady paycheck found out the hard way it ain't. So tell us about this book, because I will say, before anybody thinks what I thought and makes the mistake that I thought, which is this is like an introduction to entrepreneurship, like 101, like you can do it book. And there is that, because there needs to be. I actually not only enjoyed it, but I learned a lot of stuff and took a lot of notes. So I just wanted to put that myth to rest. Tell us about this book, because it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Well, in a lot of ways, I wrote Entrepreneurial You because I wanted to learn things too. I started my career as a journalist, and so my MO, in a lot of ways, is that if there's a topic that I'm really interested in, writing a book in some ways is kind of my learning process. It's my professional
Oh, cool.
development process. So I decided I wanted to kick it up a notch. I wanted to make even more money in my business, and I thought, what better thing to do than to interview some of the smartest entrepreneurs that I know about how they make money. What are their business models? What are their different income streams? How did they create them? What does it look like? So I spent the first part of 2016 interviewing more than 50 very high 6, 7, even 8-figure entrepreneurs about their business, and really tried to break it down into a roadmap that regular professionals could follow, so that they could identify the income streams that would work for them. And I actually made myself the first guinea pig for Entrepreneurial You. And so I actually tried to apply many of the strategies, and it dramatically enhanced my business over the course of the past year. So it was really an up leveling factor for me as well.
That's awesome. Like I know, and you talk about this in the book, and it gave me a chuckle, because I knew it, but I had forgotten it. That like I, along with two others, who did an event together, we have the honor of being the very first affiliate promotion that you ever did.
That's
And,
right.
and I had heard of you because I'd first heard of you. I cannot remember how.
Just
But
local legend in Pinehurst.
yes. Well, okay. We got to talk about that real quick. We're going to go all over the place here. Funny story. Dory and I were actually born in the same hospital in Pinehurst, North Carolina. And unless you play golf, you have never heard, unless you play golf or live in Pinehurst, you have never heard of Pinehurst. Like those are the only, like the
It's a
first thing when
small
people are
town.
like, where are you from? I go, do you play golf? And if they say no, I say, between Raleigh and Charlotte, kind of. If they say yes, I go Pinehurst North. Oh my gosh, you're from Pinehurst. I was like, yeah, I was born like 500 yards from the second green of, Pinehurst number 2. So all the golfers right now are going, they're like totally geeking out going, I get this. Everyone else is going, what the heck? Pinehurst number, what is that? But I'd heard of you somehow. And then I attended an event. I think it was the Savvy Blogging Conference. I only went because I was in Cincinnati for another event, and we had tickets. The
Wow.
company I was there with had tickets. We actually, I kid you not, only went to grab our swag bags. I'm just like totally we're next door in the conference center next door.
Might
It's
as
not that
well.
hard of a trip, and we heard they had really good swag bags. And in said swag bag, I want to say it was Reinventing You.
It was. It was.
Yes,
It
yeah,
was. I think it was 2013. So it
yeah,
was
because I
when
was like, there's
reinventing you.
standout, and I was, it's Reinventing You. So, a week goes by. There's this book that I had no intention of reading. About a week goes by. I pick it up. I start reading it. I finish it about a week later. Which I read slow. More aptly, I read distractedly. And then sure enough, you just like start popping up. John Corcoran introduces us. You promote our event, and then I just start seeing you everywhere. So, like,
Thanks.
guys, what I want to say is, Dorie is living proof that like you can start from very humble beginnings, and
Pinehurst.
yeah, and then suddenly completely blow up. And she's applied all the principles in here. So that is awesome stuff. Who are some of the people? we'll get to the best part in a minute. But who are some of the people who interviewed that are featured in the book?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of really cool people that some of your audience might be familiar with. I mean, um, as I mentioned, I really tried to lay out a lot of different possible income streams that people could explore. And so I interviewed people that I thought were just doing best in class work in those areas. So I talked to people like Michael Port, the author of Book Yourself Solid, about building a speaking business and a coaching
Mhm.
business. I talked to a gentleman named Danny Iny about course creation. There's a guy named Todd Herman who's really been crushing it with his program on course creation. I spoke to Ryan Levesque, who's very well known for his book
Yeah.
Ask, survey methodology. A guy named Jason Gaynard, who has created a pretty elite conference called Mastermind Talks. Jordan Harbinger is a well-known podcaster, created The Art of Charm. John Lee Dumas is a probably financially the most successful podcaster out there. He has a show called Entrepreneur on Fire and is now bringing in sometimes up to $500,000 a month in income based on his podcast. So it's really a very successful cast of characters.
That's awesome. I love one of the things I loved about it was about 2 out of 3 people were people when I saw their name, I shook my head like, yeah, I either know them, I met them, we've hung out, we've emailed, we're like Twitter buddies.
Yep.
But there was like a good chunk of people that in a good way, like to me, this is actually exciting that they weren't they weren't people I'd heard of. And B, for the average reader, they were relatable. Like, it
Yes.
wasn't how this, like, here's the deal. I'm not like, this is not a knock on JLD. I do not believe that in 2017 today, what he did is replicatable.
Yeah.
You can
Hmm.
learn lessons from it, and you
Hmm.
might have to take off like a zero, in month 6 to what he was making.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that you can't run a 7-figure business doing what he's doing. That's not what I'm saying. Like if you started today, you totally can. Most people cannot start where he started and do what he's doing in that time frame because the marketplace is so much more crowded. It's a different marketplace. It's just like you can't bid what I bid on Google AdWords in 2004
Yeah.
today. I was doing like ads for golf instruction. I was paying $20 per $2,000 customer. You will now pay half of that just for the click. You cannot replicate what I did in 2004 today. But I love that there were people that, you had, I don't remember specific names, but there were just some people who it's like, I can see people going, I can do that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's
yeah.
really important, Matt, and I'm glad you're drawing that out because of course it's great to learn the best practices from people that are very successful multimillionaire entrepreneurs right now, and to kind of work backwards and see what they did. But I think sometimes you can learn the best lessons from people that are maybe just a few steps ahead of you,
Yep.
who have been doing it more recently, or where you can see yourself in the strategy. I feel like a problem actually a lot of times in business literature is that there's not there's plenty of lessons from the top, but there's not a lot of granular detail about, okay, let's rewind. Literally, what were your initial steps? What did that look like before you got famous? What did it look like before you accrued the advantages that you're now able to leverage moving forward?
Mhm.
And so I wanted to really get into the backstory with these folks about the earliest moments of their business so that people can have a more honest sense of what it looked like in the beginning before they knew they were going to make it, before it was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. I think it's like it's like the difference between a business book that talks about General Electric and, the mom and pop down the street. It's like, I don't know how much I can learn from General Electric. I've read Jack Welch's biography. I didn't learn anything. It was a good read.
Yeah.
I didn't learn anything because it's not my world. I mean, it's like a bajillion-dollar company. Like, what
Yeah.
can I learn about that? I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm never going to have like 100,000 employees doing what I do. It's just not going to happen. So, I'm actually curious though. This has nothing to do with the book. This is just kind of. I'm curious about your learning process because you've had an opportunity to interview people. $100,000 is their success mark, and 10 million plus is their success mark. How do you personally, like when you talk to somebody who's 10, 20, 100 times your size, how do you glean lessons from them without feeling overwhelmed. I'm asking for a friend.
That's right. That's right. I think that the key here, part of it is what I was talking about a moment ago, which is yes, you can learn a lot from what people are doing today, but you can learn even more from like almost a play by play of the early days. I think that's really where a lot of the value is, and that's the story that, particularly in kind of like news articles or whatever, doesn't get told. Because if we're looking for the flashy headline, it's, oh, this person's a multimillionaire. I don't want the flashy headline. The I want the detailed how to, and break it down and what it looks like. So I think centering the conversation on that is useful. I think the other piece is understanding that tactics might change because, as you say, the market shifts or whatever, but we can really draw conclusions and that I think are important for us from the strategies. So, for instance,
Hmm.
this doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's a point that I draw out in Entrepreneurial You. Something that John Lee Dumas did really well, and a big part of what led to his success. I mean, it might seem mysterious, like, oh, he just became this amazingly successful podcaster. Well, how did he do it? Well,
Yeah.
literally, the way that podcasts monetize is that they get sponsorship based on their monthly download numbers. That's the basic idea. So the trick is, well, how do you get a bunch of monthly download numbers? How do you juice that number? John realized the vast majority of podcasts were doing weekly episodes. Okay, great. So you have 1,000 subscribers, let's say. That means there's 4,000 monthly downloads. Well, that's not a lot. That's not going to interest a lot of people. Let's say you have the same 1,000 subscribers, but instead of doing a weekly podcast, you do, like John decided to do, a daily podcast.
Hmm.
That automatically means that with the same size audience, the same level of work to get to that
8x your
audience,
business like that. Yeah.
8x your business. That's exactly right. It is a strategic decision that he made that changed everything. It was just changing the fundamental assumptions, working harder for sure, but changing one metric on the dial, and it changed everything. And I think that kind of thinking is the approach that we can learn from.
It's a good point. It's like, it reminds me kind of when we were doing some projections for a client, and it's so fun to just, you play with one number in the algorithm, and you realize that like 5% increase in opt-in conversion
Yeah,
is worth like $175,000.
it's
I mean,
incredible.
5%, like big, I mean, and we know instinctively it's worth something, but I just looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's, whereas if you change the sales conversion, it moved it like 75,000,
Right.
it was like, oh my gosh, that's the number, guys. So I want to shift gears. I do want to talk about my favorite chapter in the book.
Yes,
Uh,
clearly.
chapter 11, because I'm going to flip to it here. The actual title of the chapter, and we're going to talk about your affiliate journey here. Gosh, I got to get to chapter 11. Do you know the title? Oh, here it is. Leveraging Intellectual Property, Affiliate Marketing, and Joint Ventures. My two favorite subjects because they're the same thing. Let's go back to that first promotion you did. Tell me how you got in. I know the story, but tell the audience how you got into affiliate marketing, and then we'll kind of talk about what happened from there in a moment.
Yeah, so I'm a relative newcomer to affiliate marketing. A couple of years ago,
Yeah.
2015, it was right before my past book Stand Out came out, and I was just starting to really get serious about list building and wanting to focus on that. And I had been friends with this guy John Corcoran, our mutual friend. John was somebody I actually had as a case study in Stand Out, and he also
Mhm.
makes an appearance in Entrepreneurial You, my new book, as
Not
well.
as big of an appearance as some people.
No, not as big of an appearance as some people like Matt McWilliams. Yes, so excited to have
Yeah.
you there. But so John Corcoran reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing." It was like kind of a 2-hour live webinar
Mhm.
masterclass on networking, and he said, "Would you like to be an affiliate for it?" And I had never done an affiliate promotion before, but I thought that it would be a good starting point because my audience was familiar with John. I was going to be having him in the book. I think I had written about John before to the list. I had been on his podcast. So we had a relationship. And so I had kind of a reason. It wasn't coming in cold. I had a reason to talk to my list about John. And it was a promotion that he was jointly doing with you and another of your colleagues. And so I'm like, hey, let's give it a try. So I had never done anything like it. I didn't really know how to do it, but I sent out the email, had the link, and I got, and it, whoa, people bought it. People
Yeah.
actually, opted in. And so I got a check. I think it was $365,
Yep.
which was amazing. And, I mean, of course, sometimes now I'll do promotions and, make a lot more
A
money
lot
than
more,
that.
yeah.
But it was the first time I'd ever done it. I sent one email, I was just kind of feeling my way, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I've never gotten paid to send emails before. Like, this is kind of crazy. I mean, normally I'm used to
Exactly.
paying my email service provider. Now it's like, oh my gosh, it's coming the other way. So I'm like, this is a miracle. I've got to learn about this.
Yeah. And I love that because it is the prototypical story. Like, okay, first of all, you had the relationship.
Yep.
You had done things for John, that's how relationships are built. He had done stuff for you. Now this is a really mutual thing because you get to introduce your audience to something cool. B, you don't have to create anything. Like you had to type an email, click send, and you're like, your hands are done.
Yes.
C, you got money, which is cool. And, this was on, the average sale price of that event, again, it was a 2-hour webinar, essentially. The average sale price was like $65. So even, at a 50% commission, I think you made like 10 or 11 or 12 sales. It was like half the people on that were Dorie Clark referrals. And it was super cool because, we had no intent. We weren't trying to make money. We were actually doing it initially. It was a bonus that I had offered an affiliate promotion. That's how we created it. But then we realized, like, I needed to actually host this event. So I asked, this whole thing was thrown together in like no time. And that's the beauty of it. Like, it wasn't the world's best online event, but it was more than we delivered what we always talk about, which is we delivered 10x value. If you paid $50, $75 to be there, I promise you got 10x value. Like, I'm still proud of, like, I look back and go, gosh, that was terrible. Oh, it's painful. Mark and I will occasionally watch parts of that video and cringe, but we still delivered value. So that's how you got into doing affiliate promotions. And then I know we've done a few together, but like today, like, what's your, I don't know, it's kind of a general question here. What's your view of affiliate marketing, how it fits in your business? Like, how do you view it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great part of my business now, for sure. I mean, one of the points that I make in Entrepreneurial You that I talk about a lot, we were commenting earlier about multiple streams of income, and so over the past few years, I have really consciously sought to cultivate multiple income streams. I now have 8. So one.
8.
8.
Okay, I need to
That's
know
right.
what the 8 are. Sorry, we're going to derail that. I got to know what the 8 are. I'm curious.
All right, so we got.
I've got 5.
Yeah, that's pretty
You
good.
probably have 5 that overlap. I'm curious. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. And I've just added a couple in the last year. So, it's you just kind of keep layering it on top of each other. But so there's consulting, there's executive coaching, writing books, doing paid speaking. I teach part-time for the Fuqua School of Business at Duke.
No, I'll edit that part out.
Yeah, terrible. It's not Matt's favorite, but it's okay. I do online courses, I do affiliate marketing, and the 8th is I recently started doing live events and mastermind retreats. So a little bit of everything. So it's a nice piece. It's a nice spoke, of the wheel.
Yeah. No, and I love that. Like that, you got me on the university professorship. I've never done that. They frown upon people who never went to class when they went to college, like I did. And then my coaching and consulting are combined. So I guess technically, yeah. No, that's awesome. So the affiliate marketing is definitely a part of that. You're actively looking for stuff. Yeah, I mean, what do you? So when you go into an affiliate promotion, I'll ask the question because I know people's mindsets. How do you keep affiliate promotions from being the word's not a distraction, but like, we'll use a distraction from your own stuff. Cause you've got books, you've got speaking, you've got consulting, you've got products you've got all these things that you could be promoting to your list. How do you keep affiliate marketing from being a distraction?
Yeah. One piece of it, of course, is if there's a huge thing that I'm promoting, I'll block that time off the calendar. So for instance, in October, I launched my new book, Entrepreneurial You. And so anybody who came to me was like, hey, I have this affiliate thing in October. I'm just like, dude,
Nope.
no, no.
Yep. Start with your stuff first. That's what we teach.
Yeah, exactly. But for other things that come up at other times when I'm not actively in the midst of pushing something, then if I have a good relationship with a person already, I mean, I don't really want to do stuff with like random strangers. That's not interesting to me. But if I have a good relationship with a person and I really feel that the material will be complementary to what my audience is interested in, I mean, is it kind of in line with what my you know avatar reader is, then I will say yes, because I want to make sure, of course, that it's something that will actually be useful. The litmus test for me is it's not just pushing sales stuff at them, but if we're able to provide information of some kind, whether it's some kind of lead magnet or whatever
Mhm.
that people, whether they buy or not, would
Yep.
find useful, then I feel good about sharing that with people.
That's the most important thing. I tell people all the time, like, you want to be able to say, we're doing this thing with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, and I said, I need you to say these exact words. And he was like, ooh, I love that. And that was, whether they buy or not, we're going to take great care of your audience. So like, we want this training, the pre-launch content, to be the second best training on the face of the earth for learning to sell.
Yeah.
I'm like, and if you can do that, Jeff Walker's product launch workshop is the second best training on the face of the earth about launching a product. Now, his first is the $2,000 product launch formula.
Right.
Like, there are so many people that I know personally who've never bought Jeff's course, and they've had six-figure launches. It's
Yes.
like the most
Yes.
obscure industries. All right, so you interviewed more than 50 people. Last question, Dorie. I'm genuinely curious. What is the biggest? You listed some of them, but you barely scratched the surface. Like, I'm going to guess in the 200 and something pages here, 250 pages. I'm going to guess the total revenue from the people in this is got to be pretty close to $1 billion.
That may well be true. I haven't
I'm just
tallied it
doing the
up in my
math.
mind, but yeah.
I say only. Is that 50 times 20? Okay, it may not, you know what, it may be. We'll just say it's close to $1 billion. It's a lot
Yeah.
more than any of us have ever made.
Yes, it's a lot of very, very successful folks.
So there's $1 billion of advice in this book. Like, that's how I look at it. And you can
Yeah.
buy it for $28 US. Okay.
That's right. On Amazon, I think it's 18 right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm just saying you should pay $28 for it, but we'll get into that. What's the biggest thing you learned that you've applied in your business from doing those interviews?
Well, I really sculpted the book so that I wanted it to be kind of, a little something for everyone based on where they are in their business and what they're looking at. But if we're talking about me personally, Matt, the
Yeah.
thing that I came into researching Entrepreneurial You on having on my mind was I was very interested in online courses. I wanted to learn
Mm.
how to do that better. And I was interested in just kind of getting some best practices for it. And so for me, what was most valuable, I have a whole chapter on online courses. I shared all of the best stuff of what I learned. I put it into practice. I did the interviews in early 2016, as you recall.
Yeah.
I launched the pilot of my online course. It was called Recognized Expert in April of 2016, launched the full course September 2016. And to date, this course, I've had 150 people go through it. It's been very successful.
That
And
is awesome.
thank you. And for me, the biggest difference in terms of the bottom line, calendar year 2016, uh, strictly from applying the principles that I learned in crafting Entrepreneurial You and doing these interviews with expert entrepreneurs. In calendar year 2016, I was able to earn an additional $193,000 compared to what I did the year before,
That is so
just by
awesome.
putting it into practice. So it's my hope that readers can similarly just turbocharge their business by applying some of what they learn in here.
That is awesome. Well, Dorie, I remember you posting some of the initial stuff in one of the mastermind groups we're in, and I got to kind of follow along with that. So it's awesome to hear that some of that came from writing the book. Like, that's what happens when you talk to awesome people. So, Dorie, I'll share with the audience, without you on, I'll share with how they can get the book. Go check out Google Dorie Clark. I know Dorie Clark. I know she's number one. Is it DorieClark.com?
It is so simple. DorieClark.com.
I just usually Google your name and click
Yeah. There's a free Entrepreneurial You self-assessment
yes,
too.
forgot about that. And
Yeah.
we'll make sure to link to that. But I want to be respectful of your time. So get that. It is the Entrepreneurial You self-assessment workbook.
Right at DorieClark.com.
And I'll just say it's awesome. So you got to go get that. And then we'll link to that in the show notes and all that. But Dorie, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. You're the only person I have ever talked to on Zoom that was born in the same hospital as me. So you have that honor as well.
It's amazing, Matt. Thank you so much. Great talking to you.
Thank you, Dorie.
Bye.